are like best friends. You would think to hear them talk, you would think that they
Yeah.
like brothers.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So can I ask you a question? What, in terms of growth in jiu-jitsu, how long does it normally take someone? I mean, and it might, obviously it's going to be different from person to person, but on average, how long does it take somebody to get to that black belt?
Usually about 8
Okay.
is kind of the average.
And how much of
you
a
have
time
practice.
commitment is that? That's like how much, how much time on the mat per week, like what's the time commitment?
I would say the minimum is probably like 3 to 4 times per week.
Okay.
They'll have academies where they'll have class, let's say twice per week, and that's usually how people start out, twice per class. But by the time you're training addicted to it,
you want to go more often. Yeah, you want to.
Yeah. People want to train. They want to train every day. They're training at home. They're training, in their basements. They're training in open mats, and so the mat time that you get, is definitely going to directly affect how well you learn the technique, and then probably of course, how. So, ranks usually directly tied to train. So you'll have the prodigies who come in and they're promotions. People who've gotten their black belt in the last couple of years.
Oh.
And you'll have those folks who also cross over from other grappling arts.
Yeah.
Who will excel through the ranks faster. You'll have kids who started training really little, and by the time they're 16 and getting into the adult rank, they quickly jump from blue belt to purple belt.
For sure. Yeah.
But for the average, person, adult, you're looking at of the time belt rank from kind of ballpark like a year and a half to 2 years to get that next belt. And then there's, the forever purple belts like me. I stay at purple belt as long as I can. But you'll have, it's just life for everybody. And so you'll have some folks who are twice, is maybe all they can fit in the schedule, and they're still going to learn the technique. They may go home and study video. They may, practice at home on their carpet.
Right.
They may have a grappling dummy. They practice.
Yeah.
And you'll have other folks
That's
who,
what we need in the gym.
Even at the top, you'll have black belts who have to prioritize them.
Of course.
It's something that I'm thankful it's always been there. I'll have more active time travel. I might go for a while where all I can is buy something. But every time where I'm not path as much as taking schedule, it always applies.
Right.
So I cannot show that when I train, it helps every aspect of life.
Yes.
It's just something that I need to do to keep up health.
Stay balanced and
yeah.
I feel that way about exercise that I do. And my wife feels that way about yoga.
Yeah.
It's the work-life balance, right? And for me personally, jiu-jitsu helps so much. I can't imagine my life without it.
That's really cool that you feel that way. I like that. I think that's cool.
I used to be a soccer girl. Everything I did. Played, coached out competitively, coached my boys, taught skills, I was always in and still surprising the fact how quick I stopped soccer. Pick up going to just don't fun game. And I tweaked my knee a little game, and I remember it kept me out of jiu-jitsu for about a week.
Ooh.
That made me so mad that I had to miss jiu-jitsu.
Oh, that's it. I'm done with soccer.
It was the last time I put on cleats.
Man.
Yeah. I have a similar story. That's why I stopped playing basketball with like the local, people that I live around, because they'd be like, "Hey, we're playing these pickup games," and you go and play and
get injured.
You jam a finger or you'd roll an ankle, and then I'm like, "Great, I'm a coach.
Great, I can't
train
lift.
like this is my life. I can't be injured." And it's so frustrating. So I stopped playing with the guys. They play like they're being paid, and I'm like, dude, you guys, you're not.
I hate
you're
that.
not pros right now.
There's no medal at the end of it.
Exactly. Think of it like the way that I tell my clients that we think of our exercise, our daily movements, as like Shane said, it's more of the marathon game.
Yeah.
The marathon mindset that like I'm doing this for the rest of my life.
Yep.
I'm not trying to get to a specific point and then stop.
Yeah.
Or I'm not trying to hit a PR every single day or every single week or whatever. It's that
Right.
constant progress and growth that I have from it in all areas of my life throughout the rest of my life, so that I can continue to do it. So,
Exactly.
and
I love that
sometimes
point.
I have to tame it down. Me personally, I have to tame it down because I'll overwork myself.
Yeah.
Because I get in that mode and I'm like, and then 3 hours in, I have just trashed my body. And I'm like, great, now I can't do anything for 4 days. And so it's like, you really need to I have
balance
to tame
that shit out. Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
And I got to constantly remind myself that. And I'm 39 now.
Yeah.
And I haven't missed 4 days in a row of exercise in 18 years.
Yeah.
And I won't. But the thing is like, I have to keep my mindset thinking, hey, this is a constant thing.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to win anything. Yeah. So it's interesting. Even after this many years, I still have to remind myself that.
Mm-hmm.
But,
18 years. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's my therapy. I started right in my early 20s. I actually started in my teens, and then I had a back injury and couldn't work out for a while. But then in my 20s, started again. And even if I was sick, even if I was vacation, whatever it was, I would not miss exercise, working out, because it's my therapy.
Yeah. And it's your priority.
Oh, it totally is. Yeah. I have to have it. Therefore, it helps me be a better father, better husband.
It's
better
also
coach.
Earned you money.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So
it's my livelihood as well. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I had a time period where I was working out of the office in my academy, and best shape of my life. I think I was.
Mm-hmm.
It was so easy to be able to quickly switch gears. I'm on the laptop doing work, and then I would just train.
Yeah, because you're right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now I have a gym set up to do that same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I've spent all day working. I need some sort of workout in for bed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to break. And then I have my built-in training partners. Boys are 12 and 14.
Mm-hmm.
That's
They've been
perfect.
training longer than I have. They actually started real young, a couple months before I did. And
how does that work, like with the kids? Like, can kids earn a black belt, or it's something like
probably one of the only arts we have black belt.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's reserved as an adult rank.
Okay.
There's a level of
Sure.
And being able to teach it. A lot of academies have an element of being able to be that.
Mm-hmm.
The traditional martial arts, not just having ability, it's about actually
Mm-hmm.
So having, especially black belt instructor. So I'm not sure that I'm aware of a black belt to
A
a
kid,
minor.
yeah.
But they will have a version of it. They'll have a kids version. So
Okay.
there's different types of kids ranks, but most of them follow a formula that takes you through some sort of white belt rank.
Yeah.
Sure.
I guess that was more of my question, is if like the kids have to start over when they reach adulthood, or does some of that carry over?
Yeah, most academies, I think, are still taking teenagers who are, and usually it's right around years old. They will go and get their white belt. I think maybe a couple exceptions where they'll put the teen into a blue belt rank. But in most cases, I've seen they go to a white belt. They might quickly promote.
Progress.
Maybe it's only a couple of months into that blue belt or into that purple belt. And that's where you'll see their ability on the mat will represent the appropriate belt rank.
Sure.
Whatever the instructor feels is appropriate. But I have heard of some cases where teams progress all the way through the team belt ranks to belt.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it does happen. There are teams.
You're cutting out just a little bit.
Yeah, you're kind of cutting out.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah, right there, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I actually have a friend that does Wing Chun. It's a form of Kung Fu. And it's similar to that as well, where the kids, they can start as young as 8 years old and start in Wing Chun, but they don't really become a Wing Chun master and move up the ranks. And they call them shirts. So instead of belts, it's a shirt, right? They have different shirt ranks. And they don't really progress until they're into adulthood. But the same type of thing. They move through it so fast because they've had that experience when they were young. It just gets a little bit more aggressive when they're older, because then they're actually fighting against people that are bigger. They're not teens
Yeah.
anymore. They're not little little kids anymore. But
Right.
it took my friend a good 10 plus years, maybe almost 15 years to become a master. And it was part of requirement to start. You had to be, like you were saying, like an instructor and an example and start actually training other people before you can even reach that highest rank. And then they have to pass it through like a board of like the Wing Chun Council in order to be qualified as a master, right? But it's interesting because they do some grappling stuff. It's mostly a defensive martial art, Wing Chun. But yeah, it's pretty cool. There's some similarities there, and he talks about it the way that you are talking about. Like he lives it, and it transfers to everything in his life, and you know what I mean? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's like that's an important thing to have in your life, like something that will challenge you, and like for anyone, I feel like that's the most thing that we're missing as a society. And anything,
well, video games are challenging. Come on, you got tons of kids doing that.
But anything we can do to challenge ourselves in some way, because you never know what's going to happen in your life, that you're going to need that resilience.
Sure.
You could have a brain injury and use those same concepts that you learned in your martial art to help you get out of that situation.
Well, I think whatever it is, there needs to be that mind-body connection. There needs to be some type of movement where you're challenging your body, right, as well as your mind at the same time. And I think those two elements combined are what really transfer to the rest of your life. Like that's why I made the joke about the video games, because I don't feel like it challenges kids to move their bodies, so they don't ever get that connection between being able to control what their body does instead of just their twiddling their thumbs. And I'm not making fun of video gamers. I mean, there are some that make money and they love it, and that's fine. But
well, kind of making fun of it.
It's the fight or flight response, right? The training that you gain from being in an environment where there's stress and adrenaline.
Yeah.
My old academy, they would have combatives training, and you would actually go in and have to stand there in the middle of a circle with your eyes closed and react, hopefully with technique and with controlled movements when somebody would attack you. So you would feel the first touch, and that's when you could open your eyes. And if you don't train that way, and anybody with, a whole lot more experience have in any real life scenarios, law enforcement, military, they'll tell you, when you learn to train in a way that allows you to practice controlling that adrenaline response, that's when you really know the technique. When you really are able to calmly handle a situation. Everybody sees those videos, right? The breakdown videos of this is what happened in this scenario. Law enforcement or average Joe on the street uses jujitsu. The difference in those good videos and bad videos is when you see somebody who has a controlled, non-emotional response, and somebody who, clearly has a fearful response. It's very different. And so, the ability to practice that on a regular basis, man, I wish everybody has the opportunity to train that way.
I wish, for me, like jujitsu would be really hard to do, but I'm wanting to get into it. But do they have like instructors or classes or whatever for like physically handicapped people?
Absolutely. And I would love to connect you with a good academy. I'm happy
that
to
would be awesome.
Look around in your area and find somebody to train with. The first thing that comes to mind, something you can take a look, or I can even connect you, is We Defy Foundation. It is a foundation nonprofit specific to veterans who are training jiu-jitsu, and a lot of them are adaptive training programs. So they credential academies based on their ability to serve that population with adaptive training. And Alan Shabaro is actually one of our Origin sponsored instructors, and he is